guys, are you struggling with insomnia, weight gain, stress, anxiety, belly fat, or inflammation? If so, high cortisol may be your culprit and may be to blame. In this video, I'm going to show you the exact reasons that cortisol can cause this and exactly what to do to reduce that so that you can reduce and ditch these symptoms. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified anytime I post new content relating to holistic health, women's health, and hormonal health. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so in my practice, I work with women all the time, every single day, who are struggling with cortisol dysregulation and high cortisol. They see these exact symptoms, like I said, insomnia, feeling tired and wired, feeling weight gain and belly fat, feeling anxiety, irritability, just feeling not like themselves. And the thing is, there's not a lot of ways to treat this other than getting to the root cause of cortisol. So many women go to different practitioners and they, maybe go to their PCP or their gynecologist and they might get typical blood work, but they don't ever get to the root cause of their problems. And so these problems just continue to exacerbate. And the other thing is, you guys, so many women feel like they just have a complete laundry list of symptoms that they're dealing with. But the thing is, there is a root cause of this, and we can heal the root cause, which is likely due to high levels of cortisol. Okay, so first I want to answer, what is cortisol? So cortisol is a stress hormone produced by your adrenal glands, which are two little glands above your kidneys that are responsible for producing things like cortisol, DHEA, aldosterone, and several other hormones to keep your body regulated. Remember, hormones are chemical messengers that tell your body what to do. So that's all they are, just little chemical messengers. And cortisol in specific can do things like regulate your circadian rhythm, regulate fluid, regulate inflammation, regulate your blood pressure, regulate sleep. It also helps to utilize glucose as well. So it's clear that we need cortisol to be healthy. Cortisol is actually a life-saving hormone and super, super helpful. If we had really low levels of cortisol, as people with Addison's disease do, they feel pretty miserable too and are really, really fatigued among several other symptoms. But if you have too high of levels, you're also going to be noticing these symptoms too. So we want the right level of cortisol to make us feel the best. So cortisol is part of our circadian rhythm. When we think about cortisol, I want you to think about kind of the sleep-wake cycle. And when we wake up in the morning, cortisol is fairly low, but within about 30 minutes, we want to see a big jump in cortisol to make us energized, ready for the day, ready to tackle on your day. And then throughout the day, it slowly declines so that at night, it can bottom out so that you sleep well. So for those of us who are waking up from 1 to 3 a.m. or having a hard time getting to sleep, feeling restless, there's a good chance that your cortisol level could actually be spiking in that time and preventing you from getting that super restful sleep. So what cortisol, or how cortisol can be dysregulated or get high, is actually from stress. So our brain is constantly scanning our environment all the time to, for dangers, threats, scary stuff, things that we may need to get out of or that might be kind of threatening into our life. And so when your brain starts to detect these things, it will say, hey, adrenal glands, pump up the cortisol level. We have a stressful situation or a threat here. And so your adrenal glands will start pumping out cortisol. And when it does that, it does different things for our body to get us into this called like stress response or this fight or flight system. And so when it does that, it does other things to compensate, like kind of slows down our digestive system, makes us a little bit more focused. It shuts down our prefrontal cortex, which is where we do emotional regulation and focus or logical thinking, but it also turns on our lizard brain so that we can get out of these situations. So what happens is after we have too long of stress, prolonged amount of stressors and prolonged exposure to too much cortisol, our bodies can definitely change chemically and physiologically inside. And so different things happen, like inflammation will increase. Your cortisol to DHEA ratio will be off. Your sex hormones can start to decline. So our good friend progesterone, which I had a video all about how to boost low progesterone that I'll link in the comments section, can go down as well, which can create worse periods, more anxiety, more stress, spotting before your cycles, those types of things too. So cortisol, when we think about hormones, I like to think about it in terms of a pyramid. And on the very bottom of this pyramid is cortisol, adrenaline, and insulin. So those are our three master hormones that we really want to take care of so that they feed everything else up in the chain, like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, melatonin, your neurotransmitters, inflammatory markers, your digestive system. They do all of these different things, or dictate all of these different things. So when we're exposed to prolonged stress and have way too much stress in our life, or our brain's perceiving too much stress, this is when cortisol can become chronically elevated and thus cause a lot of these symptoms that we're talking about, like fatigue or feeling tired and wired. Maybe you're getting a second wind at night. Maybe your insomnia is off the charts. You're having a hard time falling asleep or staying asleep. Maybe you are noticing muscle pain and joint pain and more inflammation. Maybe your digestive system is off. Maybe you're having more anxiety and feeling more overwhelmed. These are all symptoms of high cortisol levels. The other thing that women notice, and cortisol gets a bad rap for, is weight gain and belly fat. So when your body doesn't metabolize cortisol or basically detox it as well, it stores in our abdominal area or as belly fat, and that's when people can start to say, okay, when you get stressed a lot or under prolonged stress, you can start to notice an increase in belly fat. Okay, so when we think about stressors, I like to think about it in terms of a reservoir. And all of our physical, mental, and emotional stressors go into this reservoir. So physical stressors are things like intermittent fasting, which I have a video on all about what happens to our hormones with intermittent fasting. Also things like working out, HIIT workouts, lack of sleep, overexertion. All of these different things are more physical stressors. Inflammatory foods can also be a stressor. And then we get into our mental and emotional stressors. So things like feeling like you have no boundaries, feeling like you're a people pleaser, being super type A, being a perfectionist where you're constantly putting pressure on yourself to be perfect and get everything done to the best of your ability. Those personality characteristics can definitely contribute to more stress in your body because you are putting more pressure on yourself, like I said, to do certain things. Otherwise, grief and death can be a part of this. Lack of self-care can be a part of this. Being exposed to a lot of different stressors can be a part of this. Repressing emotions can be a part of this physical and mental emotional reservoir. So when I think about stress, I like to just kind of tell my patients at least, to do an inventory of their stressors. So all of these physical and mental emotional stressors go into this reservoir. And from there, if we're feeling these symptoms, that means that it's slightly overflowing and we really need to take some out. So I always tell my patients, let's look at the lowest hanging fruit. Like, what is the big one? Where can we get this out very quickly? So for example, if you're doing intermittent fasting and you're noticing that your cortisol level's high, you're feeling these effects, these symptoms, stop fasting. Go back down to like a 12 hour fast instead of doing something like a 16 or 18 hour fast. That's a super just quick and easy way to take a stressor out of your body, because fasting is a stressor. If you're over exercising or doing a ton of HIIT workouts, those can be easy ways to get quick stressors out of your body. But in my opinion, the deeper thing is more this pressure we're putting on ourselves, this perfectionism, this being type A, this lack of boundaries, this overwhelm, this too busy of a lifestyle or schedule. These things are more what stress is made out of, because if you think about it, our HIIT workout might be 30 or so minutes per day, a few times a week, but this pressure we put on ourselves, our life in general and how we're perceiving it, is an all day, everyday thing. And for a lot of us, even dealing with insomnia, we're thinking about it like 24/7. So if you don't have boundaries, if you're letting people walk all over you and you are being a people pleaser to your own demise and not taking care of yourself, these are big areas that you can start to, set some boundaries, start to kind of unpack where this is coming from in ways that you can be a little bit more selfish even and take care of yourself in a better way. I see so many patients, and I've struggled with this myself. I have gone through adrenal fatigue, which I have another video all about my journey through adrenal fatigue, and I realized that while I did add physical stressors like marathon training, that wasn't the thing that really broke the camel's back for me. It truly was the fact that I was so type A and perfectionist and didn't have any boundaries for people. I was always constantly trying to make everybody else happy, please people. I didn't want to, be the one to ruffle any feathers, all of those things. And it was causing a lot of internal struggle and battle for myself that was causing a ton of stress for me too. All right, guys, I want to know in the comments, what do you do for stress management? We're going to talk about all of these different things here in a second, but stress management is a super big buzzword, and I want to know what you do to relax, to manage your stress a little bit better. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into how exactly do you actually lower cortisol. I'm going to give you tactical tips and advice here. So number one is breathe slowly and deeply. So when we breathe in our diaphragm up here, or breathe in our throat up here, and it's super shallow, we're literally sending the message to our nervous system that things are threatening and dangerous. If you're being chased by a wild animal, you're gonna breathe up here super fast and quick to get out of that situation. But if you're calm, we tend to breathe slower, we tend to breathe deeper. So you actually want to give the message to your body, your nervous system, that hey, everything's good here, we're good, we're safe, we are breathing deep. That means that the external world feels okay. So you can actually biohack into your stress system by just practicing deep breathing. So during the day, you're not gonna catch it every time. Most of us are fairly shallow breathers. But if you do notice it, cognitively take a few deep breaths and really focus on getting it into your diaphragm and belly. Lift up your belly and lower your belly and really slow things down, and that'll give the message of safety to your body instead of having it produce so many stress hormones. The next thing I want you guys to focus on is sleep and rest. So I know that a lot of you are probably struggling with insomnia and poor sleep, and that's okay. But even if you're struggling with insomnia, you are still resting. And I really want to get that message across to you about when we wake up in the middle of the night and we're frustrated and stressed because we can't sleep and it's annoying and we know we're gonna feel miserable the next day. Slow your thinking down, slow your breathing down, and realize that you are still resting in that time. If you're not prioritizing sleep and feeling these symptoms, please make sure to try to get 8 hours of sleep per night. Really set boundaries around your bedtime, your bedtime and wake time. Have consistent times that you're sleeping so that your body can actually do its job while you're sleeping, which is to rejuvenate, rest, detox. It produces different hormones when you're sleeping. So we need that downtime and that rest time to have a healthy blood sugar response, stress response, and inflammatory response too. Number 3 is to slow down. I am so guilty of this, but this is something that I've been really trying to work on in my life. But when we are driving fast and eating fast and walking fast and just thinking fast and moving fast all day long, again, you're giving your brain the message of you're being chased by a wild animal in danger instead of a message of safety. So when you can catch yourself, sit down and eat your food. Focus on chewing it instead of just inhaling all of your food. Focus on driving the speed limit. Focus on slowing down your walking and breathing. When we slow down, again, that gives messages of safety to our body instead of the message, hey body, you're getting chased by a bear, you better get your stress hormones going. Number 4 is there is a type of herbal plant that's called an adaptogen. And adaptogens help increase your resilience to cortisol. So if you're somebody who is exposed to a lot of cortisol every day, you're under a lot of stress, you have a lot going on in your life right now, taking some adaptogens can be really helpful in helping increase that resilience so that your body doesn't react so strongly to the cortisol level it's being exposed to. So things like ashwagandha, rhodiola, schisandra berry, medicinal mushrooms, licorice root, there's all kinds of different adaptogenic herbs out there that can be super, super helpful for this. I would recommend checking with a provider or a practitioner that knows about these types of herbs because there can be different formulas for everybody. There's so many different adrenal formulas on the market right now, and people are marketing them for just adrenal health or cortisol health. And the fact of the matter is, in some of these formulas, it can actually drive up your cortisol level further. So things like licorice root actually does drive up your cortisol a little bit. And there are things that can drive down your cortisol level a little bit further, like L-theanine, phosphatidylserine, those types of things. And so you really want to work with somebody who knows your unique situation and what's going on so that you can get the right formula for you, and also make sure that it's safe for you with any medical conditions or any pharmaceutical medications that you might be taking. Number 5 is to eat well. So like I mentioned earlier, in our hormonal pyramid, the bottom layer is cortisol, adrenaline, and insulin. So when insulin is off, or your blood sugar, that's going to be a stressor to your body and encourage it to produce more cortisol as well. So my suggestion to you is eat regular intervals. So if you're somebody dealing with adrenal fatigue, cortisol problems, stress in general, I would encourage you to eat really regular intervals. So eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you're hungry, have some snacks in between. And I always give my patients the specific framework of doing protein, fat, and fiber. So making sure that there's a protein about, waking up, eating 20 to 30 grams and trying to kind of consistently get that at each meal, super helpful. Then I want you to focus on your healthy fats. So 1 to 2 tablespoons of healthy, good quality fats like avocado, olive oil, coconut oil, nuts and seeds, nut butters, those types of things. And then your fiber. So hopefully in form of plants, fruits and vegetables are great, but make sure that you're getting in, aim for around 10 grams of fiber per meal to get up to your 25 to 30 grams per day. This helps keep your blood sugar super balanced, which will eliminate one of the stressors in your body if everything is super balanced. And also, you'll feel better with your energy. I also have a video all about how to boost your energy that I'll also post in the comment section as well. Okay, you guys, number 6 is a big one. This is a huge one for so many people, and it's watch your catastrophic thoughts. Your brain cannot tell the difference between a thought and the reality of it actually happening. So if you're somebody like myself, I've struggled with this a lot, who constantly goes to the worst case scenario, constantly thinks of everything bad that can happen right off the bat, you're making your brain live through these situations and increase your stress hormones without it actually happening. So I want you to remind yourself that you're doing yourself a disservice by making yourself live through these things before it actually becomes a reality. So many of us view catastrophic thinking, worrying, having anxiety as something productive, in terms of these things could happen, and so we feel like if we worry about it, that can be productive. And I get that 100%, but that is not accurate. We know that that is just stealing today's joy and peace when it's not actually happening. So I encourage you to view your thoughts like this. We can't even go 3 seconds without a thought. So we have tens of thousands of thoughts per day. Some of them we really hop on the train for those, and we go down the rabbit hole and we really attach ourselves to these thoughts. And other ones we're able to just let them go. We think about them briefly. Maybe we don't even cognitively notice that we think about them, and we are able to just kind of let them go. So I want to encourage you guys to view your thoughts like you're standing at a train station. And when you're standing at this train station, the trains are coming in and out constantly, all the time. There's new trains coming and going. And these are your thoughts. And you get to decide, you have the power to decide which train you get on. So you have the power to decide, okay, I'm going to get on this train and go down the rails with it, or go down the rabbit hole a little bit with this thought, or I'm just going to let this thought come and let it go as quickly as it came. So I want you to remember that when you're in this catastrophic thinking and you're really going down this scary rabbit hole, make the decision once you notice it to stop doing it. Realize that it's not productive. Realize that you're making your body live through a situation that's not a reality yet. And think back, you guys, for those of you who struggle with this, I had to always think back when I was doing it, and I still do, how many times I've catastrophized situations and how many times I've been super anxious or worried about them, and they've never ever happened. And so that helps keep me into the perspective of being in the present, and realize that so many times I've ruined days and moments and stolen my own peace and joy from worrying about things that I never ever ever needed to even think about or worry about. So remind yourself that you have the power to choose which thoughts you kind of buy into and latch onto, and I encourage you guys to practice this and choose wisely. And number 7, the last thing that I want you guys to focus on to reduce your cortisol is to set boundaries. So this can be in so many different aspects of our life. This can be with our bedtime. This can be with our phone or social media time. This can be with our TV time. This can be with people. This can be, setting boundaries with family members or friends and saying, this is not something I'm willing to do, or this is something I'm willing to do. But think about areas where you kind of lack your own boundaries or your own kind of set of rules and values, and kind of go back and figure out where you need to start setting some boundaries. If you're somebody who likes to lay in bed all night and scroll social media and hours go by, I totally get that. That is called numbing out, or empty self-care, as I call it. It feels like self-care. It feels like, oh, the day's over, the kids are in bed, just want to numb out to this, but you're not actually getting anything in terms of self-care. If anything, you're probably going well past your bedtime. You're probably going to be tired. You're exposing yourself to blue light, and you're probably not going to sleep as well. So make sure you can still scroll social media, but try to set that boundary of doing it, an hour before bedtime, and setting a timer of, okay, I could do this for 30 minutes or something like that. And that's just one example. But all of us need certain boundaries in our life to kind of keep ourselves on check and prevent ourselves from self-sabotage and deprecation. So make sure that in your life, if you're in need of some boundaries, people are walking all over you, you start to set those for other people, and remind yourself and remember that you let people know, you teach people how to treat you. So if you want to be treated a certain way and you're not being treated that way, remind yourself that you teach people how to treat yourself. And so start setting those boundaries with other people. All right, guys, I have a digital course called Heal Your Hormones where I go through all of this. It's all about 5 pillars to hormone health, which is mindset, the stress management stuff that we talked about today, nutrition, exercise, sleep hygiene tips and sleep tips, and then vitamin supplements and herbs to help you get the results that you want. And so this is exactly what this course is about. I will leave the link in the show notes. It's alliedamron.com/heal, and it's actually on sale for 40% off right now through this link. So go check that out. You get the free Facebook group with it, and hundreds and hundreds of women have gone through this and helped their own cortisol levels feel better in terms of insomnia, stress, inflammation, period pain, anxiety, depression, overwhelm, all of these different things. So if you're interested in that, I'll go ahead and leave that in the comments section. It's alliedamron.com/heal for 40% off. And I would love to see you in that course. And again, if you have not subscribed and hit the bell to receive notifications, go ahead and do that so that you get notification anytime I post a new video all about hormone health, holistic health, and women's health right here.